Hey y'all, this is Ryan. Here's a quick recap of what we did on day 3 of Exhibit Engineers. Today we finished up adaptations. So the first few bullet points were kind of catch up surveys and stuff. If you missed stuff like that, go back to day 2. Also, a quick reminder, get that photo waiver signed, and it's going to be the easiest assignment grade you will get. Then what we did is we moved on to completing our packet that looks like this. So quick refresher from yesterday. We started on adaptation. We talked about the 3 different types of adaptations. And then we defined these 2 words, habitat and adaptation. Cross this out, Terry and Jarius. We skipped that. We also watched the Arctic tundra. Here is where we started today on day 3. We watched this video about climate change. So there's 2 questions that go along with that. And then we moved on to what I would plan for day 3. So we started off with this warm up. So just go through and answer these questions as best you can. Questions 1, 2, and 3 go with this table, and then the last 2 questions go with this table. It's really just like kind of a check on your ability to read graphs. And then what we did is we had another slide deck that just went in a little more depth about different types of adaptations. So here it is. So yesterday we talked about 3 different kind of categories of adaptations: structural, behavioral, and physiological. The ones we're going to talk about today are these 2, structural and behavioral. These are kind of the 2 main categories. So if you need a definition, this is the definition of adaptation. It's just anything that helps an animal survive, an organism or an animal. Structural adaptations are any physical traits, anything we can see, any part of the body. So for example, antlers, claws, teeth, eyes, fur, the color that your skin or fur is, antlers, horns, tail, all those things are all examples of structural or a physical adaptation. Here's a bighorn sheep as an example. You can see too the coloration, the variation in color. Another example is like giraffes having long necks is to be able to eat, or whales with big tails, or this is an elk. They have several adaptations: structural, antlers, and fur. So there's a lot. Another kind of like subcategory of a structural adaptation is some animals camouflage. So here's a quick definition if you want to pause. Basically, it's to allow you to blend in to either hide from predators or to be able to sneak up on prey. So here's a few images of camouflaged animals, really well camouflaged animals. Here's a few more. Frogs and toads are commonly camouflaged. Here's a moth designed to look like a plant. Here's a seahorse designed to kind of blend in with some aquatic plants, and then a fish designed to adapted to blend in with the coral. A subcategory is mimicry. So here's another example of how an animal might change their appearance in order to look more like something else. So 2 examples here is this walking stick, kind of designed to look like the stem of a plant. And then here's another example of an insect kind of designed to look like a kind of a dried leaf. Here's a few other really cool examples of mimicry. So these are kind of like almost a cross-section of kind of camouflage and mimicry, but they're mimicry because they're kind of designed to blend in or to copycat something else. Another example is this Viceroy butterfly copycats the monarch because the monarch makes birds sick when they eat it. So it's kind of, although it's not harmful or non-toxic, a bird might glance at it and look and see that it is. The most common example might be this king snake and the coral snake. So the snake on the left is a venomous snake, and the snake on the right is purely harmless. But you can see it's kind of copied the colors in such a way. Here's another picture that's kind of interesting. They've copied the color pattern to appear venomous when it's harmless. Other animals like fish and moths might have these markings that look kind of like eyes that might be just enough to throw off a predator. Other times there's flies that have adapted to look like a bee. There's frogs that have adapted to look like poisonous frogs, although they're not. Here's another example, fly or bee or fly. And then one final example is some striped animals like zebras do this not to blend in and not to mimic anything, but to kind of disorient predators. So when they're in a herd, it's kind of hard to pick out a single prey animal when there's just a bunch of stripes that kind of blend together. Okay, second big category is behavioral adaptations. These are any action or behavior an animal takes in order to survive. So these can be instinctual, like this sub bullet point says right here, or they can also be a learned task. So examples of these include hunting, all these examples. The two most common examples of a behavioral adaptation are migration and hibernation. So we see migration a lot with everything from birds to butterflies to really big animals, and then hibernation, where an animal will slow down its body metabolism for the winter to conserve energy. And that is where we left off today. We're going to watch this video tomorrow on day 4 or Friday. So if you can get that done today, you are totally up to speed. And quick reminder, get that waiver signed as early as you can. If you're 18 or older, sign it yourself. If you're younger than that, have someone at home sign it.